Today I'm making Dr. Pepper ribs baked in the oven. I'm also going to serve this with a cheesy hash brown casserole. This is going to be good. To start, I'll be using 3.5 to 4 pounds of pork ribs. I'm going to start by removing the membrane or silver skin from the back. You'll want to do this because it's chewy and fibrous once they're cooked, and using paper towels helps. Now I'm just going to cut the rack in half so it'll fit into my baking dish. To season them, you could use any rub or seasoning you like. I just created a blend of Lawry's seasoned salt, smoked paprika, lemon pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, and I gave it a mix. I really didn't measure it, so try 2 teaspoons of each for this. If you have a favorite store-bought barbecue rub or your own type of seasoning blend, it works. Just use something that goes well with pork meat. So here I have a bottle of Dr. Pepper. I'll be using around 2.5 to 3 cups of Dr. Pepper, 20 to 24 ounces. I'm just going to liberally season both sides of the ribs. I'm going to place my ribs in a large baking dish, and I'm going to put the meatier side down because this is the part that I want to have the longest contact with the Dr. Pepper. Now I'm going to pour in the Dr. Pepper. I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, and I'm going to bake in a preheated oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours covered. After the 2 hours of bake time, I'm going to remove the aluminum foil and uncover it. I probably should have done this on the counter. My husband's going to help me remove them from the oven. Once I get the ribs over to the countertop, I'm going to carefully flip them over in the baking dish. I'm also going to sprinkle on extra seasoning that I had left over. You can do this again with whatever you're using to season these with. And I'm going to crank up the heat temperature of the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and let it cook for an additional 20 minutes or so. I just want it to get color. It'll continue to cook, and the exterior is going to have this like crispy snap to it. It's really good texturally. So my ribs have cooked for an additional 30 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and these are done. This is exactly what I wanted to achieve with the texture of the ribs on the exterior. So I'm going to remove these, and I'm going to let them rest for about 20 minutes before slicing into them. And I got to tell you, my kitchen smells amazing. I know Dr. Pepper might seem like an unusual ingredient for ribs, but it really does work well with this. In the meantime, I'm going to show you how I make a cheesy hash brown casserole. So here I'm starting with a 20-ounce bag of shredded hash browns. These are thawed. And fun fact, the recipe is on the back of these hash browns. I kind of followed it, but I kind of didn't. I added my own spin to them. So for the rest of the ingredients, I'll be using 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. Here I have an 8-ounce block of mild cheddar cheese, a container of cream of chicken condensed soup. I'm going to be adding onion powder, dried chives, cracked black pepper, and some smoked paprika. This is going to be good. So in a bowl, I'm going to combine all of the ingredients. For the dried seasonings and dried chives, I'm just eyeballing it and measuring with my heart, as they say. If you want exact measurements, maybe a quarter teaspoon to a half teaspoon of paprika, some pepper, the same amount of the onion powder, and a tablespoon of the dried chives. I'm going to add part of the cheese into the mix and reserve half a cup to top the casserole with. You could also top the casserole with cornflakes, crushed Ritz crackers, the French's fried onions. I'm just going with cheese today. I'm also going to add 4 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. I failed to mention that earlier, but that does go into the mix. And if you find that you like to add salt or other seasonings to this recipe is very forgiving and you can adjust things to your preference. The recipe suggests to use an 8 by 8 square inch baking dish, at least a 2-quart baking dish. Mine is a rectangular shape. I've sprayed it with cooking oil and now I'm going to add the mixture into the baking dish. Cheesy hash brown casserole makes its way to my holiday meal table every year. I have another version of hash brown casserole. For this recipe, you can double or triple it for a larger amount of people into a larger baking dish. So I'm going to use the reserved cheese to top this, and I'm going to be baking this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It suggested 45 minutes. I'm going to go for about an hour. It has been an hour of cook time, and I think going that extra 15 minutes to go for an hour gives it that nice cheese crust on the top of the casserole. So I'm just going to let this hang out on the stove, but it is bubbly and golden brown on the top, just the way we like it. Now to garnish this, you can add fresh chives. I'm going with some fresh parsley on top. That is optional, because it's just as good without it. I'm going to let this hang out for about 15 minutes before serving because it is piping hot. So the ribs have rested. I'm going to place these on a cutting board. By the way, my kids are excited. And I'm going to slice some single ribs, serve them on a plate with that delicious cheesy hash brown casserole. My son made a garden salad on the side. It's actually in the fridge, and that's what we're having for dinner. Now I'm going to dig into this casserole. Ah, so cheesy, melty, ooey gooey deliciousness. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.